You reach into the dark and your hand closes around a suitcase handle. The leather is stiff, cracked, cold in a way that has nothing to do with temperature. You pull it toward you, and something rattles inside. A tin, maybe. Shoe polish. Dried solid. Packed by someone who expected to need it again soon. They never did. That suitcase sat in the dark for almost 30 years. So did 400 others. This is the story of Willard Asylum, and of the 400 lives quietly filed away and forgotten inside it. Breathe for a second, because the history part is where this really starts. 1869, eastern shore of Seneca Lake, upstate New York. The state opens a new kind of institution, Willard Asylum for the insane. Before Willard, the mentally ill were often kept in almshouses, poorhouses, sometimes alongside criminals, no real distinction made between them. Willard was supposed to be the humane alternative. Here's the quiet part. It worked, in a sense. It grew into something closer to a small city, wards, farmland, a cemetery of its own, because a city that size would need one. Over 126 years, roughly 54,000 people were admitted through those doors. Most of them did not walk back out. Sit with that number for a moment before we move past it. 54,000 people. A hospital treats you, and you go home. Willard was never built around that assumption. It was built for people the state had already decided weren't going home. Leaving required approval. A doctor's signature. A family member willing to take responsibility. For thousands of patients, that approval simply never came. Some stayed for years, some for decades. Some were admitted as young adults and died there as old men and women, having spent more of their life inside those walls than anywhere else on earth. And here's the detail that should make you uncomfortable. What got many of them committed would barely raise an eyebrow today. A single public outburst. A period of grief after a loss. Behavior that, by modern standards, looks almost ordinary. That was sometimes enough for a lifetime. Now picture the treatment itself, because the era was brutal by any measure we'd use now. Ice baths, cold enough to seize the breath out of you, used to subdue agitated patients. Long-term restraint, the rough pull of leather straps against skin, held in place for hours. Electroconvulsive therapy, administered widely, decades before the safeguards we'd recognize today existed. None of it was considered cruelty at the time. It was considered medicine. Let that sit for a second. It doesn't get easier the longer you think about it. And underneath all of it, a small ritual played out again and again, almost too ordinary to notice. Every new patient arrived carrying a suitcase, clothes, photographs, a few personal things, whatever you'd pack for a trip you expect to be short. Here's where it turns. If that patient died at Willard, and thousands did, and no family ever claimed their belongings, staff didn't throw the suitcase away. They stored it instead. Nobody could bring themselves to discard what was left of a person. So year after year, in a room above the wards, a stack of unclaimed lives kept quietly growing. That system ran from around 1910 to sometime in the late 1960s. Then, without explanation anywhere in the record, it just stopped. The door was shut. It stayed shut for almost 30 years. By 1995, Willard was closing for good. Budget cuts, a changing view of institutions like it. Before demolition, staff walked the buildings one final time, looking for anything worth saving. A museum curator named Craig Williams made the 4-hour drive from Albany, expecting furniture, maybe a nurse's uniform for a display case. Now you're the one climbing those stairs. The air gets thicker with every step, dust, and something mustier underneath it. Decades of stillness with nowhere to go. A longtime employee named Beverly Courtwright leads the way, and she stops in front of a door she's clearly known about for a long time. Her hand doesn't move to open it right away. She'll say later that she wasn't sure the world should ever see what was behind it. that maybe it would have been kinder to let it all disappear with the building. The door opens. Your flashlight finds them first. Rows of suitcases stretching back into the dark, coated in dust and pigeon droppings, arranged with a strange, deliberate care. Men's on one side, women's on the other, as if whoever stored them still wanted these lives treated with dignity, even in storage, even forgotten. You reach for the nearest one. The clasp is stiff under your thumb. It gives with a metallic snap that sounds far too loud in a room this quiet. Snapshots, a diary, a letter, written and never mailed, toothpaste, shoe polish, the small, practical things anyone packs for a short hospital stay. Except these stays were never short. The New York State Museum acquired the entire collection. Photographer John Crispin has spent more than a decade photographing individual cases, working with researchers piecing together fragments of medical records to understand who these people actually were. Some of what they've found is difficult to sit with. A war veteran, committed after a single public breakdown, given a diagnosis that kept him institutionalized for the rest of his life. A woman's suitcase packed full of family photographs, with no record that anyone in those photographs ever came back for her, or for it. Case after case belonging to people admitted for conditions we'd now treat with medication and a few months of outpatient care. Conditions that, in that era, were answered with a locked ward and an indefinite sentence. These aren't single verified stories, read word for word. They're patterns, the kind that repeat across 400 suitcases until the pattern itself becomes the story. Now stop. Picture just one of them, not 54,000 people. 1. You're a man in your 30s, packing a bag the way you'd pack for a weekend away, folding a couple of shirts, slipping in a photograph of someone you love. You believe, the way anyone would believe, that this is temporary, that someone will come back for you, that you'll carry this same suitcase out the front door yourself, someday soon. You never do. Multiply that single moment by thousands, spread across 12 decades, and the attic stops looking like a lost and found. It starts looking like a record of expectation. Hundreds of people who believed, right up until the end, that leaving was still on the table. Today, most of Willard's campus stands empty. Long corridors, peeling paint, wards left almost exactly as they were the day the last patients were walked out. And the site has picked up a different kind of reputation since. One that has nothing to do with suitcases and everything to do with what people say still happens inside. A few details repeat more than others. Some describe a sound less like footsteps and more like something heavy being dragged across a floor above them. Slow, deliberate, in wards that have been locked and empty for years. Others describe opening a door into a room they were told was empty and finding the air inside heavier and colder than it should be. The kind of stillness that makes you want to shut the door again without asking why. These are second-hand accounts, not documented incidents. Treat them that way. There's no ledger for a haunting. This is testimony. People with flashlights and cameras, nothing more. But ask yourself something. A building already this saturated with real, documented history doesn't need an invented ghost story to feel wrong. Maybe what people are responding to inside Willard isn't paranormal at all. Maybe it's just the weight of knowing exactly what happened there. Case after case, decade after decade, ordinary lives quietly absorbed into a building that was never obligated to give any of them back, because that part needs no embellishment. Willard Cemetery holds 5,776 burials, most marked only with a number, not a name. Real people arrived at Willard believing their stay was temporary. Many spent the rest of their lives there, and when they died, in case after documented case, no one came. What was left of them sat in the dark for 30 years, waiting for someone who was never coming back. 400 suitcases, 400 small, ordinary acts of hope. A folded shirt, a photograph, a tin of shoe polish someone fully expected to use again. They never got the chance. We did instead. Strangers, decades later, opening what they left behind, trying to give some shape back to lives history had otherwise let go of completely. Now it's your turn to sit with the last thought. If your life ended tomorrow, and everything you own sat untouched in a locked room for 30 years, what would a stranger open that door and find? And what would it tell them about the person you actually were?